What is up? Welcome to Monday's Hangxiety, your fantasy football therapy session. It was a weird week 13. And by weird, I mean it went exactly how we told you it was going to go. The Thursday games were amazing. The Friday game was way better than what we expected it to be. But the problem was we knew those were the best 4 games on the slate. We got to Sunday, and I'm disappointed. I don't know about you. Let's talk about how it affected your fantasy teams. Let's get into it. Good morning. What is up? Welcome to Monday's Hangxiety, your weekly fantasy football therapy session. Week 13 is almost in the books. The fantasy season is almost in the books. It's time to talk playoffs. I am your host, Ryan Weiss. With me, as always, Josh Hudson. Getter J taking the week off. Josh, how you doing today? I know it was a disappointing weekend for you after that Friday game.
Well, honestly, I love when my team plays on like a Thursday or in this case a Friday, because if they lose, I'm not stressed out on Sunday.
That's true.
I can just sit back and be like, you know what? We shit the bed.
Yeah.
I can watch other teams and fan bases shit the bed. Like,
say you can just sit around and root. Well, there's that, but I was gonna say you could just sit around and root against Dallas, Washington, and the New York Giants, and that's all spread out for you.
Dallas played Thursday. Fucking Kansas City couldn't do their jobs. Yeah. Denver, Denver keeps squeaking by. This is gonna catch up to them eventually.
Yeah, it feels like the Vikings from a few years ago, where they just keep winning one-score games and everything falls apart. So,
100%.
Yeah, as I mentioned, all we talked about last week was how all the best games were on Thursday. The highest over-unders, all 3 of the top 3 over-unders were on Thursday. So it was set up to be a weirdly disappointing main slate. And guess what? It was a very disappointing main slate all in all. The chat's already getting into that. Drop your bright spots in the chat. Let's hear about those wins. Let's hear about those 13-0 teams. Before we do all of that, do all the things you need to do to help us be more successful and hear more people hear us. Hit like, hit subscribe, drop your comments if you're not watching this video live. Do all the things that move us up the algorithm. If you happen to be listening on Apple or Spotify, hit those follow buttons. We do have Super Chat. You're probably not going to use it much on a Monday morning, but if you need a Monday miracle, you need to ask us about a lineup decision, you can pay a little money, let you jump to the front of the line. And if you want to talk fantasy football when this show is over, we do have a completely free Discord. Josh is dropping the links for you. It's also in the description of this video. Let's get into the chat because I want to do score recaps and jump right into man of the hour. So let's knock out the chat. Our guy, Quincy Davis, 13-0. Josh, I don't have a team approaching 13-0. I think my best team is a 3-loss team, but 13-0 for Quincy. Dropped Mike Evans a few weeks ago. Looks like he'll be playing for the Week 15 playoffs. Would we pick him back up and drop Franklin? And obviously, Franklin disappointing. If they're going to bring Mike Evans back, Josh, much like they brought Chris Godwin back and he looked good this week, if they're going to bring Mike Evans back, I think he probably deserves a spot in your flex spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad about it. Look, Troy Franklin's the wide receiver 1 on the Broncos, but he's not really playing like the wide receiver 1. Right? Like he's getting a bunch of targets, but he's not really a downfield threat. He's I'm going to move the chains kind of guy.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you have a very inconsistent quarterback like Bo Nix, you become a very hit or miss starting option when it comes to fantasy football. So if you feel like Mike Evans can be a difference maker for you, I have zero issue dropping Troy Franklin to go pick up Mike Evans.
Yeah, I was going to say, of all the people I do shows with, Josh, you gave the most pushback, and it wasn't a lot of pushback, but you gave the most pushback on Troy Franklin being a thing. And I know that's a lot because of your Cortland Sutton fandom, but again, in fantasy, certainly me, I'm notorious for this. We tend to anoint people a little bit too quickly, and I feel like that may be what happened with Troy Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cortland Sutton, not a great stat line by any means, but he caught a touchdown this week, right?
Yeah,
he is still that veteran guy that they need in those tight spots. This game was close throughout the entire game. Who are they going to go to? They're not going to go to Troy Franklin. They're going to Cortland Sutton.
Yep.
It's the same thing on the opposite sideline. Where did Washington go? They went to Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
He's going to come up later.
Yeah. Jonathan Santiago up 22 points. Opponent has Diggs. He needs to choose between the safer option of Wan'Dale Robinson and Tyrone Tracy in tonight's game, Giants versus the New England Patriots. He does get 0.2 of a point for every rushing attempt and a point for every first down, Josh.
I still think I'd go Wan'Dale because it's full PPR.
I agree. And I was looking for our prop bets tonight, so I'm glad that this finally me researching our prop bets matters. This is a Patriots team that has been worse against the rush as of late. So his being the running back, Tyrone Tracy, his over-under is set at 47.5. But what I found interesting is Devin Singletary's is set at 29.5. I think this is a situation where we're probably looking at 10 carries for between 40 and 50 yards for Tyrone Tracy. So it's a question of who's more likely to find the end zone. So the Giants have Patriots have been giving up more yards, Josh. I don't think Tyrone Tracy is going to find the end zone in this game. I think it's more likely to be Wan'Dale Robinson, and he's also more likely yards per catch to get you the first downs.
Yeah, Patriots have allowed the most touchdowns to wide receivers since, I believe, week 7.
Yep. And Wan'Dale was good with Jackson Dart, so that's concerning to me. Like sometimes I get worried when a quarterback switches, but Wan'Dale was good with both quarterbacks. Theo Johnson was good with both quarterbacks, and those are really the only two pass catchers that matter on this team.
Yep.
Keenan, down 31. He has Diggs and Tracy tonight. Is he cooked? Let's assume this is a normal PPR league, Josh. I do think 15 apiece is mildly doable for these guys. Obviously, I don't love the possibility from Tracy based on what I said earlier. Diggs worries me. I'm going to be honest. I would call Keenan cooked. If this were my exact situation, Josh, I'd be going into this thinking I'm taking the L.
Yeah, I would feel worried. This is going to come across as very selfish. I need Diggs to score less than 10.1 fantasy points to survive in a chop league. So sorry about that one. But no, no, look, it's very possible Stephon Diggs could go for 15, 20, even 25 fantasy points. Like that Giants secondary is not good. Nope. But the way that New England spreads the football around, you just never really know if it's going to be a Diggs week, if it's going to be a Mac Hollins week, if it's going to be a Demario Douglas week, Kayshon Boutte week, another Travion Henderson boom week. Like it's so infuriating from a fantasy perspective that I want to trust Diggs because I do think that he's the best wide receiver there. But yeah, I would be nervous, Keenan. I'll put it that way.
Yep. Keenan also brings up things that are going to come up later at the show. Just shocked how JSN, Jacobs, and JT had fewer points combined than the Seahawks defense. Josh, I told everybody who would listen last week, Seahawks were my number one defense for the week. And my, oh my, did they deliver with a shot.
Well, anytime you're playing a undrafted rookie free agent in his first career start, you got to start him. Let's be honest here. 4 interceptions, 4 sacks. They didn't return one for a touchdown, did they? I thought they may have. I know Tariq Woolen had a good return, but
yeah, I don't think
they got hit. And
I could be mistaken.
Fumbled, but anyway. No, I mean, look, the Seahawks, they're a good defense regardless. JSN, judging how that game script went, does not shock me one bit. And honestly, like, I think from a top end wide receiver perspective, he probably felt like one of the more volatile ones this week, simply because they're playing an undrafted rookie free agent at quarterback. Their opponents were. All it takes is a couple of turnovers. They weren't going to score many points. Seattle's a team that can just lean on the running game. And we've seen that from this offense already this season.
Yeah.
Like if they don't need to throw the football, they're not going to throw the football. So the Jacobs one definitely hurts. Obviously JT as well, but
I was going to say,
JSN is the least shocking of this, in my opinion. I'll say.
Yeah, that's very fair. All right, let's do some scoring recap because a lot of people are just talking about what went down over the weekend. Let's do the scoring recap, man of the hour. We'll get back to the chat. So football started on Thursday this week. 4 games before we ever hit Sunday. Packers beat the Lions 31-24. Jordan Love with the game of his career, basically, at this point, but it is Toyotathon. Cowboys hold off the Chiefs 31-28. Bengals kind of surprised the world. I brought up the Ravens were 7.5-point favorites in this game. That didn't feel right. I didn't see the Bengals winning by 18, 32-14. Josh's Eagles disappoint on Black Friday, 24-15. Bears take that one. Bears, I believe, are the number one seed in the NFC right now because the NFL is weird. Then we get to the Sunday games. Dolphins beat the Saints the way they're supposed to, just maybe not by as much as we expected. 21-17. I think they were a double-digit favorite in that game. Texans 20, Colts 16. Offense could not get going for Indy. Jets 27, Falcons 24. That is a last-minute field goal that just eked by to get the Jets. Nick Folk, most accurate kicker in the NFL of this season. 49ers beat down the Browns. This was at least one we saw coming, 26-8. Panthers shocked the world, 31-28, knocking the Rams out of first place in the NFC. Jaguars 25, Titans 3. Another ugly game for Cam Ward and company. Buccaneers 20, Cardinals 17. Seahawks 26, Vikings 0. I don't know how many shutouts we've seen this season, but I feel like that's one of the first.
I think that's only the second.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Chiefs had one earlier this season.
Bills 26, Steelers 17. No quarterback play for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Chargers 31, Raiders 14. And last night, the Broncos in overtime hold off the Washington Commanders 27-26.
Man, I thought the under was going to hit on that game.
Right. And then,
I was like, damn it.
And then week 13 finishes up tonight. Giants travel to New England to take on the Patriots. Josh, I like to jump right into the man of the hour because that's the whole point here. We mentioned earlier in the show, not a ton of great fantasy performances this week, but there was a great football performance this week, Josh. And that is the Carolina Panthers put it on the Los Angeles Rams defense, kept scoring with Matt Stafford and company. Man of the hour has to be Bryce Young. Gator J wants me to eat a little crow here, Josh, which I definitely am ready to do, but I'll let you get it started.
Oh, I thought you were the one that was doing the man of the hour.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I'll talk about it.
No, that's fine. I'll bring up a few points, but no, look. So 2 fourth-down touchdowns. You want to talk about some cojones from Bryce Young and Dave Canales this week? Like, hats off. Jalen Coker 4 for I believe it was 74 and a touchdown. McMillan only had the one catch, 4th down touchdown. You'll take that from your best player. They bottled up Rico Dowdle, but then Chuba Hubbard said, "Hey, I got you, homie." Had himself a day, a receiving touchdown. I posted on Twitter during this game. The Carolina Panthers are the most schizophrenic team in the NFL.
Yes.
I have no idea what version of this team we're getting week in and week out. And they were down 2 key members of their secondary for this game. J.C. Horn was out with an injury, and Trayvon Moehrig was out due to suspension.
And still played pretty well against Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. That's not to say they didn't get theirs.
Yeah, I mean, Adams had 2 touchdowns, and Puka had arguably the catch of the freaking season, which damn near was topped later in the afternoon by Brock Bowers and his touchdown catch. Yeah. But no, like I for everything that Bryce Young did, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, I think he finished his QB4 on the week.
Yep,
like,
that's exactly where he was.
He came in and he did the damn thing. So, like, hats off to this Carolina team. They're holding serve, going back and forth with the Bucs. I believe the Bucs have a half-game lead on them in the South right now, and the Panthers have a bye in Week 14. So we'll see kind of what happens. I mean, this team could be tied atop the division after heading into Week 15 in those final 4 weeks of the season. So, yeah, like Ryan, you shit all over this team in the offseason. You said this is not going to be it. This offense is up and, they're struggling. And you know what? We've seen that this season. But we've also seen the good side of things.
So all this does is it convinces me that Bryce Young is not completely cooked. Because me hating this team, let me give one thing completely clear. I think the offense has lived down to my expectations, and I'll get into that in a second. I am shocked about how well this defense is playing. This was my worst rated defense coming into the season.
They were bad last season. And they couldn't stop the run for like 3 years straight. And
that's what we're seeing. We saw, Kyron Wynn and Blake Corum both scored touchdowns. but there were still plays made. A'Shawn Robinson looks like a new guy here. They are playing really, really good defense. The offense is still sketchy, but what I wanted to get into and where I'm going to mildly eat crow, I am still a Bryce Young fan. I am still rooting for Bryce Young to succeed in the NFL. And Josh, what I got to see this week, Bryce Young and Dave Canales looked like they were having fun. And you love to see that because they're not exactly playing with house money. If they were winning the way they won yesterday with 3 wins, I'd be like, yeah, they have nothing to lose. This is a team that has a division to lose, and they had fun. Bryce Young threw the ball 20 fucking times yesterday. In one of the highest scoring games on the slate, Bryce Young throws 3 touchdowns on 20 pass attempts.
Efficiency,
75% completion percentage. He actually has not been below 60% since week 1. Not that 60 is like, oh, I take that back. I missed a week in there. He was 55%. But regardless, last 4 weeks, 68, 68, 62, and 75. 10.3 yards per throw this week. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he got it done rushing the ball, which is something we want to see more of him. 5 runs for 23 yards. This is what this team needs to do, Josh. As you mentioned, Rico Dowdle didn't get it done. Chuba Hubbard steps back in. That for fantasy, that's going to create headaches for everybody. Bryce Young is not going to be Baker Mayfield, plain and simple. That's not what he's going to do. He needs to manage the game, but he proved this week he can win games. The problem is, Josh, he did this to us last year over a much longer period of time. He was great for the last 11 games last year, but that was all playing with house money. The team sucked, plain and simple.
Pressure's on now.
For fantasy, I don't think I'm ever going to buy it back into Bryce Young, plain and simple. As a person, having covered the Panthers for Football Guys for the last 4 years, I'm rooting for this kid. I really like this kid, and everybody knows I love Teteroa McMillan. He looked great again yesterday. I think Teteroa McMillan really does help unlock this offense. What this once again does, Josh, seeing games like this from Bryce Young, you had to wonder at some point, is Dave Canales going to be like, let me get my own cook in the kitchen? It doesn't seem like that's going to be happening anytime soon. I think he's going to stick with Bryce Young.
Yeah, it seems like Bryce and him are finally starting to get on the same page. Again, like Bryce is a short kid. There's only so much that he's going to be able to do. His career is essentially going to be that of a game manager. Now, when you look at those 4th down throws, like I feel like there's few quarterbacks in the league that can hit those every single time.
The one thing, he was putting zip on the ball yesterday.
Yeah, and he's got a good arm when he can see over the line and knows what he's doing, But he's got really good touch on the football. And
well, I was going to say on those 4th down plays you're talking about and a few other plays, it does seem almost like the offensive line is parting the Red Sea and letting him fire balls down the middle because he's not hitting people in the helmet.
Well, and he's also not afraid to scramble to get those extra yards. And that's big when you're somebody that's inevitably going to get pressure up the middle, get pressure around the edges, whatever. But I think clearly they have a number 1 guy in McMillan. I think the jury's still out on Xavier Legette. How involved Coker's going to be. We've seen some really good games from Coker. We've seen some shit games from Coker. Jatavian Sanders is very athletic, battled the injury bug this season.
He just struggles to get past Tommy Tremble, and that worries me.
And that's the other side of it, right? But you don't need a Brock Bowers tight end in this offense, right? Like you just need a complementary piece like a K. Dotton was for him, a few years ago in Tampa. But they need to figure out, are we just rotating at running back? Are we going to have a bell cow? Because I think that anytime you're doing these sort of rotation type things at running back, it's very easy to throw off the rhythm of your offense.
Yeah.
Because each running back has a different style, has a different, vision set, all these different types of things. And, maybe one day it doesn't mesh with how they want to do things. Maybe one day it does. And I think that's a really easy way to throw off the balance of your offense. So, look, it worked yesterday. It's worked in stretches. I mean, shit. What was it last week against San Francisco? Shit didn't work at all. It was terrible.
And that was coming off of a good week, a great
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a fucking yo-yo team. Like, I don't know what to think, but right now, hats off because it worked yesterday.
They shook up the NFL yesterday. There's no denying that.
100%. The NFC is very much anybody's ball game right now.
Yep. Jay brings up maybe the most interesting point if you're an NFC South fan. The Panthers and Bucks still play each other twice in the last 4 weeks of the season. That's going to be wild. Index said very Seattle Russell Wilson. I think that's
and that's the thing. Early in Russell Wilson's career, that's all he had to do. He had to make the key throws and hand the football off to Marshawn Lynch. If that's all that this team needs Bryce Young to do, they can win football games and they can compete in the NFC.
My thing is, I like what I'm seeing for them for next year. They got to address that defense. I understand they're playing out of their minds. Talent-wise, that defense does not belong on an NFL field right now. Just my opinion. And Jay just throwing a little hate Bryce Young's way, saying he has been the same size.
No, he hasn't, because he was like this big when he was. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dick. Let's get back to the chat, Josh, before we start talking about some of the disappointments from week 13. The chat has plenty of them for us. Aranda Gaston was a complete flop for Keenan yesterday. Not feeling good about him rest of season. I agree. Then you throw in Herbert's hand injury. Would we look, Josh, to start Darren Waller or Zach Ertz as we're pivoting maybe away from Aranda Gaston?
Truthfully, I would be fine with either. Zach Ertz has been old reliable. Like, since week 8, he is currently the tight end 10 in fantasy football, scoring 10.5 fantasy points per game. I mean, if you want someone consistent, like, that's Zach Ertz. He had a couple of key drops in this one. He dropped a touchdown, which would have put them up and saved them from going into overtime. But, I mean, I'm fine with Ertz. I think Waller, only 2 catches this week. There's some getting back into the rhythm of things, and we know what he's able to do in the red zone, especially within this offensive scheme. I think Waller's kind of your upside play, but Ertz is definitely your safe play.
Yeah. Gator says he took down the college side of campus to Canton, looking to take down the NFL side later on.
There you go.
Keenan, faith in Kieran Williams moving forward as a flex spot, or is Corum going to take over that role? I think it's going to be way closer to a 50-50 split than we want, Josh. And the lack of passing upside for either one of these guys does make it scary. I'm still going to view Kieran as a running back too. It's just not what you were hoping you would get out of him. Corum is not my worry here. This Rams team
Adams
said, why do we need a running back? We have the best tight end in fantasy football, and his name is Davante Adams. This dude, at his age, from the 5-yard line in, Josh, there's no one in the NFL I'd rather have on my team right now.
No, he's still one of, if not the best route runners in the NFL.
The first touchdown,
smooth.
The first touchdown was filthy. If you guys did not see it, it was a play action, but Stafford moved off of the play action so fast and just fired this ball into Adams' gut. It was
threw it behind him.
Yeah.
Like, he literally reached, and it was just like, oh, we're on the same page. I got you, homie.
Exactly.
Like, just Davante Adams is just straight up nasty. He's such a good wide receiver.
Our good friend and Rams fan, Chris Molina, and I were chatting back and forth and said, Davante Adams unlocked that offense. Me and Chris were very happy for the Rams for about one half of that game. I'm not a Rams fan, so like for me, it was good football. Chris, much less happy by the end of that game because
I almost texted him and just like, hey, man, I feel your pain.
Matt Stafford, who had not thrown an interception in 28 touchdowns, throws 2 before he throws touchdowns 29 and 30, basically. So, yeah, that was wild. In the one league, this is George, by the way. He's in contention. He's up 35. He was up 35 heading into Sunday Night Football. But Terry McLaurin comes back and shocks the world. Josh, I benched Terry McLaurin in every league I had him manage. Was not expecting what we got from that.
Yeah, look, McLaurin's going to come up a little bit later. I'll give you the truncated version of this. I feel like if you still have Terry McLaurin on your team, odds are you're probably not in the playoff hunt.
Correct.
Right? So, okay, great. Thanks for nothing. Like, you have not helped me for 12 fucking weeks this season.
Yep.
And now 13 because you blew up when I didn't need you to blow up. Because I
on my
needed you
bench
to blow up
just
over the
make
first
me look
bit.
stupid.
Yeah, right. Just adding insult to injury at that point. But
yeah,
clearly Washington's still fighting. Which, hey, you know what? Good for them. But if it leads to 14 targets every fucking week, sign me up, right?
Josh, let me tell you about a dilemma I have similar to this one in the listener league. So Ryan has turned it on in the listener league, and I'm now tied for first place with our good buddy Lewis Hall. Yeah. Here's my dilemma, Josh. It's the stupidest dilemma. You're not ready for what I'm about to ask you. I named my team Capitol Hill Bill, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is still on my bench. Why? At this point, superstition tells me I cannot drop him or change my team name because it's working. Am I overthinking this?
What was it you were talking about in one of our dynasty leagues about now that Treylon Burks is activated?
I was 0-7. My best friend in the whole world is busting my balls. I got him into this league with all these fantasy experts. He sucks, but he's in there just making me look like an idiot because I'm bad at this dynasty. But I said all I needed was Treylon Burks to get. I've won 4 games since Treylon Burks was active.
And Treylon Burks had his second career on a damn fine touchdown catch, mind you. So,
superstitions, baby.
You know what?
Not changing anything.
There you go. Sometimes you just need that little push, and sometimes it's a player that quite literally is doing nothing for your team.
Yep. Can't cut him. Can't change the team name. Index of Sus says he is down 24. Shout out Sean Tucker's Donut. He does have Ramondre tonight. He already says he's cooked. It's a half PPR. Josh, I don't see a world where Ramondre Stevenson's dropping 20.
Oh, I could definitely see a world because we saw it the first 10 weeks of the season.
Well, yeah, he scored 24 points in those 10 weeks. I'm joking. What do we got here? George, Justin Jefferson. Is Justin Jefferson an auto bench moving forward? Josh, I think the answer to this is absolutely yes.
Hey, remember on Wednesday when I said Justin Jefferson wouldn't finish in the top 50 at wide receiver?
When Josh made the boldest statement.
And I still didn't go bold enough, apparently, because he finished as wide receiver 74, I believe it was.
And that's with 4 guys tonight that could easily move ahead of it. Well, 2 guys for sure, Diggs and Long.
Quite honestly, yeah. I mean, look, I get it. He's Justin Jefferson. We know what he's capable of doing. But if you don't have a quarterback that's going to get you the football, why the fuck am I starting you?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. I've said it for weeks now. This season for Justin Jefferson is DeAndre Hopkins' season with Brock Osweiler at quarterback.
Yep,
it was one of the few seasons where he didn't have 1,000 yards, where he wasn't the dominant wide receiver. I think he finished like wide receiver 30-something, like 36 or something that season. This is that year for Justin Jefferson.
If you have somehow survived this and are looking at the playoffs, do not feel bad about benching this man. If it's a redraft league, Josh, first of all, I haven't had a chance to look at waivers yet. I'm not mad at dropping Justin Jefferson at this point.
I mean, we say it all the time. Like this time of the year, when it comes to waivers,
all that matters is winning.
All that matters is winning. I don't care what your name is, because if you put up Justin Jefferson's blind resume up against somebody else, you're probably going to look at those two and say, oh, I want team B or player B.
Every time.
And then you realize player A is Justin Jefferson, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, what voodoo sorcery is this bullshit? Like, this is just not Justin Jefferson's year. We need to accept it.
Yep. Jonathan Santiago, can the Bills play the same way they did last night for the rest of the season? James Cook should always see 25-plus touches. Josh, I think the issue with a question like this is you're not going to have the inept offense that we saw from the Pittsburgh Steelers every week.
Yeah,
that's a lot easier to feed James Cook when the other team's doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you want to talk about another schizophrenic team. There's some weeks where that Steelers defense looks like the 85 Bears. And then some weeks where they look like the fucking 2025 Cincinnati Bengals. Like,
I was thinking about that a lot, Josh, because I remember on this show, a lot of people were upset with the Steelers defense in the first 6 weeks of the season, and then they kind of turned it on. But now we're seeing just a regression. But it also doesn't help when the offense is doing nothing. So
obviously Aaron Rodgers leaving in the middle of that didn't help. But this is around the time of the year, playing up north, playing outside, playing in the cold. 41-year-old quarterback's going to look like a 41-year-old quarterback, and he certainly did this week.
Yeah, it was ugly. Did you hear at the end of the game, they were literally chanting "Fire Mike Tomlin," and it was
Yeah, he was asked about that in the press conference, and while he didn't like address it, by name, he was like, I mean, we definitely didn't do enough, so I get it. And
yeah.
I'm just like, you know what?
He said, "I was frustrated, so I can only imagine how frustrated they were."
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin was a class act. Aaron Rodgers was not. Go look at the comments. He was throwing his wide receivers directly under the bus. Surprise, surprise. George, this is a question for George. Has a question for you, Josh, about your Eagles. That we don't hear a peep out of AJ Brown, and now that he's finally getting 12 targets a game, but they're losing, calls him a selfish player. But more importantly, do you think he's an Eagle next year?
So there was, I think it was after the first touchdown catch, when you see AJ Brown, jogging back to the sideline, like him and Jalen were actually like, they looked like they were having fun. Like, hey, you know what? They're back to like, the first couple of years when they were throwing and playing together here in Philly. And I'm like, all right, that's the energy that this team needs. Like, I think in a way, sure, he is a selfish player. I don't know a wide receiver that's not, quite honestly. Like, wide receivers
Not a good
want the football. And I hear the talking heads, they say this stuff all the time, where, wide receivers in the huddles, like Orlovsky's talked about it. Nick Foles was on a podcast recently, and he was kind of talking about it too, where, guys will suggest plays, and it's a play that, they're the ones that are the first read, right? Wide receivers want the football. Running backs want the football. Tight ends want the football. Like, these guys, this is what they do. Like, they're paid to not stand there and do nothing and run clear out routes and win sprints, right? They know how good they are with the football in their hands. And when AJ Brown gets the football in his hands, he changes things for that offense. He's the wide receiver 1 on the week. He's the leading receiver in the NFL over the last 2 weeks. We haven't been able to say that much all this season.
Nope.
He is that damn good. So it begs the question, why is this offense not doing enough to get the football in his hands? Because you clearly are not doing it with Saquon Barkley this year. Like, last year, it made sense. Hand Barkley the football, good things are going to happen, plain and simple. Nobody could stop him. But this year, our offensive line is so beat up, it's so out of sync, and Barkley can't get going. Well, if that's the case, throw it to the guy that can dominate. Yeah. That's why you have the most expensive offense in the NFL. And to be ranked 25th or lower is just blasphemy. So, while yes, he is a selfish player, I agree. Name a good wide receiver that's not a selfish player.
Yeah,
you think Justin Jefferson's not frustrated, not getting the football? He's pretty selfish too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
Index of Sus is echoing you in the chat.
Yeah, I get it, and I want to be frustrated as well, because again, we're not winning, so it feels like, empty stats at this point. But at the end of the day, we're not getting blown out of these games. We're in the game.
Yeah.
It's just we're not doing enough on offense to bail out the defense. And that is literally been what AJ Brown has talked about. We need to get the offense going because the defense can't keep carrying our asses. Yeah, plain and simple. So, do I think he's an Eagle next year? It would not surprise me if he's not. Because at the end of the day, this is a very expensive offense. And at a certain point, changes will need to be made to shift to paying some of these young defensive players that we have.
Yep.
And they're going to have to make some tough decisions. That's all I'll say.
There you go. A couple of questions about St. Brown. One is, do we think, this is a later on question, do we think the Lions are cooked against the Cowboys this week if St. Brown's not back? And then Jonathan Santiago says he's hoping he's back by week 15 to at least kick the fantasy playoffs off, Josh. I think the 10-day break here probably helps things. I haven't heard anything one way or the other. But the Lions also need to keep winning, Josh. So I think if he's able to play, he's back week 14, let alone week 15.
So when they initially diagnosed it, they were talking about that it could potentially be like a 1 to 2 week injury. I'm going to say that I don't think that St. Brown plays in week 14.
Okay.
Because again, now keep in mind, they're also playing Thursday. So it's just a standard 7-day week. It's not a
I forgot about that. You're absolutely right. Yep.
So I don't think he plays week 14.
So if you sit him,
but
this
it'll
week,
ultimately be 2.5
week.
weeks.
Yep.
So I think maybe he only misses one game. But again, not a doctor, just going off of reports and stuff that I've seen. That being said, Dallas on the road is not the same football team. I don't care how hot they are. Going into Detroit, Jameson Williams is good enough that he can dominate that Cowboys
and that crowd is going to go nuts for home field advantage in this
correct one. Yeah. So I think that Detroit ends up winning that game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be shocked if Dallas wins.
Yeah.
Because we see these funks all the time with Detroit. But I think maybe the magic and mystique is wearing off a little bit on Dan Campbell calling the plays. He had one good game, let's be real here. It's been pretty up and down since. But he wants to get Jameson Williams in football. Jameson Williams carried him on Thursday. He's going to have to carry him again, so we'll see.
Yep. Keenan says, who do we like next week? Watson against Chicago, Godwin against the Saints, Cortland Sutton against Las Vegas. Hard to bench Christian Watson right now, Josh.
I'm not benching Christian Watson. You kidding me? I've been all on this train for over a month now. Give me Christian Watson.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then just with that same team, Suss said it was supposed to be a massive Toyota-thon with Tucker Kraft and Jordan Love. Looks like Love's still going to be okay, but we are.
I mean, this is what I've been saying. It's Toyota-thon. Jordan Love for president. Like, come on, man.
This next question from Santiago. I was reading this as Andrew Schultz, which I think is like a podcast host, and I was like, wait, what is going on here? Andrews, Schultz, or Waller? Which one are you dropping, Josh?
Probably Andrews, quite honestly.
He's been nowhere near consistent. And again, if you're not going to eat the Bengals up, and he had a touchdown, I think, but you didn't eat the Bengals up.
Well, Likely is healthy now. And look how involved Isaiah
very involved
was. You know, so I think, again, that just relegates Mark Andrews to touchdown or bust. You have the consistency with Schultz. You have the upside in Waller. You don't need Andrews, in my opinion.
Yeah. We are mildly caught back up with the questions. Chat, we're going to get to you. Still very much popping in there. But, Josh, let's get to some of these injuries and some of these disappointing players. We call it the unnecessary shot of Rumpelmintz. And honestly, Josh, when I was putting the injuries of the week together,
not a lot this week.
Not that disappointing. There's two we need to talk about. You go back to Thursday, Amon-Ra St. Brown, ankle sprain. Marvin Harrison does pick up a heel injury, but, I mean, you haven't been relying on Marvin Harrison, so what does that matter? Parker Washington picks up a hip injury. Aaron Jones, for some folks who may have been holding him as a bye week replacement with a lot of running backs on bye this upcoming week, picks up a shoulder injury. For Josh, I put on Xavier Restrepo, picks up an ankle
That's
injury.
why the Titans lost, Ryan.
Obviously. They couldn't get anything going without their guy. But Josh, I think the most concerning injury is that Justin Herbert is having surgery today. But it doesn't sound like he's going to miss any time. But then there's the fact, Josh, of do we think it's a coincidence Justin Herbert's getting hit and getting hurt when we've been saying what we've been saying about this offensive line? I think there's just concerns about that offense in general.
Yeah, I mean, look at, Keenan Allen disappeared yesterday. They got Kamani Vidal going, which was what Jay and I talked about on Saturday. We felt this would be a really big, pop week for Kamani Vidal. Quentin Johnston finds the end zone, but really didn't do anything else after that. Ladd McConkey found the end zone. Pretty pedestrian day altogether. Going against the bad defense, they barely mustered anything. But again, Herbert hurt his hand on that very first drive.
Yep.
So he was able to come in, finish the game, left for a little bit.
Vidal got down.
And again, like Kamani Vidal carried this team.
Yep.
The Eagles' defensive front is much, much better than the Raiders. And they're going to be swarming Herbert on Monday. Jalen Phillips has a motor that is not stopping right now. So it definitely has me worried for Justin Herbert coming in and if he's able to play with this left hand injury. Now, again, I'm not saying it's the same injury, but Aaron Rodgers broke his hand too.
Yeah.
Had to miss a week.
18 years older than Justin Herbert.
A break is a break. I don't care how old or young you are.
That's fair.
So they're going to be protective. Obviously, this team needs Herbert. Trey Lance, from what he showed in the preseason,
he can play football.
Like, it seems like he's finally gotten over the failures that were, San Francisco and Dallas. But maybe it's not a bad idea. And I'm not saying this just because I want, the Eagles to win, because with our luck, you start Trey Lance and he fucking beats us.
Goes off.
But I mean, if you're the Chargers, this is your franchise. And your offensive line is terrible. You're putting a sitting duck out there to die.
So what I like about what we've seen from the Chargers this season is they're bringing Amari and Hampton back slowly.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to rush Herbert back just to rush him back, though it's a little bit different to lose your starting quarterback than it is a rookie starting running back. As soon as I heard surgery, Josh, I'm like, there's zero chance he's playing. Surgery is surgery. Like, they are going into your body to do something. I cannot, even with it being a Monday night game, and then you run into fantasy managers. Are you waiting to Monday night to trust Justin Herbert? Like, I don't think you can.
Nope. For everybody that asked us this week, Herbert or Jacoby Brissett, guess what? Jacoby Brissett is the QB2 since week 9. He should not be your start-sit question. He should be your starter.
In fairness to those people, Kyler Murray eligible to come back this week, so who knows what happens with that. Josh, it's easy to scoff, but...
No, I agree. It's easy to scoff. Jacoby Brissett's doing really well. The team's not winning. So, sure, it'd be easy to be like, hey, we want to go
I want to pour a little water.
But...
Jacoby Brissett is doing great for fantasy, and every week to this week, Jacoby Brissett legitimately did not look good this week against the defense he should have beat up on.
Yeah.
So.
No, he definitely didn't. But, I mean, he's
and
keeping them in games, though.
Yeah.
Like, they're not getting blown out in games. They're keeping it close.
Yeah.
Like, these are
the fourth down throw was bad. Like, when I watched
the interception late was like, what the fuck, man? What were you doing?
The interception late, but the fourth down throw where they were trying to march up the field, it was a bad decision. And truly, my thought was, this is why you're not a starting quarterback in the league.
That's true. Well, it's the same thing. Look at Marcus Mariota to end the game on Sunday night.
Absolutely.
Like Nick Bonito right there in his face. Why are you not pump faking and rolling out?
Exactly.
Getting away from that.
1,000%.
Like, this is why you're a backup, dude. Like, come on, man.
Zach said Jacoby is Flacco, basically. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard. That's for sure. And he means Flacco the Bengals, not Flacco the Browns. I love that we now have to distinguish that. Josh, let's keep this thing rolling into the hangover. Biggest disappointments coming out of week 13. I will give you the dishonorable mentions, and then you and I will pick our guys to pick on. Lamar Jackson, again. Saquon Barkley, again. Travis Etienne, Sean Tucker with the goose egg, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yes, he got hurt, but still a goose egg. Zay Flowers had some ugly drops in this game. Justin Jefferson, Rome Odunze, Michael Pittman, Troy Franklin, Khalil Shakir, Michael Wilson. Shamiri DK went negative for you if you believed in him this week.
Well, technically, so did Zay Flowers in half PPR.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yep. Dallas Goedert, Aronde Gadsden. I put David Njoku just because he's still so damn roster, but guess what? He sucked again. K-Dot and let us down. But Josh, you're going to go back to Thursday and you are going to stick with the tight end position.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of been talking about, we still treat Jake Ferguson like a top 5 tight end. He was the tight end 1 over the first 7 weeks of the season. Fantastic. Love that for him. High target volume. Had 6 touchdowns between weeks 4 and week 7. Guess what he has done since week 8?
Not a whole lot. He's
not even a streamer. He is the tight end 19 overall, the tight end 22 in points per game, scoring 7.9 fantasy points per game. You know why that is? Because George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are still alive.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. He has 1 touchdown since week 8. In 3 of his last 4 games, he has 5 receptions, which is great, but it's not going for any yards. That's the problem. And if you're not scoring touchdowns, it doesn't matter. He has 7 or fewer targets in every game since week 6. For a guy that was supposed to be a volume tight end, he's not providing the volume right now. This is hurting a lot of teams that were relying on Jake Ferguson earlier in the year. And they were like, oh, I got myself a late round steal. And they're probably still trotting him out there, not paying attention to the fact that he's not scoring you any fucking points.
I could actually give you an example from my home league, and it didn't bite my friend in the ass this week. My friend has had Kittle and Ferguson and has been starting both every week for like the last month. And I brought it up. I do a very small podcast for my home league where we just yell at each other's teams the whole time. And I said, what the fuck are you doing with these 2 tight end sits? He was going to leave he had to bench either Jalen Waddle or Michael Pittman this week. Now they both sucked, so it didn't matter. But he had to bench either one of those guys to go with his 2 tight end set. And I'm like, Ferguson ain't it anymore, plain and fucking simple.
So. Yeah, and honestly, like those wide receivers, like yes, they did suck this week, but they still provide immense more upside than a tight end. And really any tight end outside of Bowers and McBride.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and that's something we've always been talking about. That's been a big theme of our DFS show as well, is don't start 2 tight ends unless you have to. And in DFS, rarely do you have to. Josh, I'm going to pick on the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit. It's kind of been a tale of 2 seasons. DK Metcalf, kind of in the vein of what you talked about with Jake Ferguson, started off with what we thought he was going to be, though there may have been some signs this was coming. So he starts off the season, 4 catches, 83 yards, and a 31-yard long. Next 2 weeks, 3 catches for 20 yards, 3 catches for 32 yards. But he scored touchdowns. So we were blinded. And then he scores 4 touchdowns in a row. And then he scores 5 touchdowns in 6 games. But since week 9, and this includes some of the touchdown games, Josh, he's the wide receiver 35. And what really concerns me is in that span from week 9 to now week 13, he hasn't crossed 50 yards. His long reception isn't over 20 yards. He is still being hyper targeted. 8 targets in the 2 games leading up to this one, 5 in this one, 7 the game before that. It's just this offense is not functional, Josh. It is a run first, run second, run third offense. And DK Metcalf, even as the quote unquote alpha, isn't getting it done. And we're talking about is Justin Jefferson an auto bench? That's a little bit tougher question to answer. I mean, it wasn't. DK Metcalf should not be sniffing your fantasy lineup right now.
Yeah, it's, I mean, this the epitome of this offense. They're down like 3 scores. And on 4th and 2 inside the red zone, they hand it to your backup running back, Kenny Gainwell, who's not even a big running back, mind you.
Nope.
Right up the middle and loses 2 yards. What? You paid DK Metcalf $30 million a year.
Fuck, hand the ball to DK Metcalf.
I mean, throw a fade. He wins 50-50 balls. You've got 50 tight ends that you love throwing the ball to. One of them is 6'7", 313 pounds. And you're running it up the gut with 210-pound Kenny Gainwell on 4th and 2. That is like perfect summation of what this Arthur Smith offense is in Pittsburgh. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, I know he throws that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Arthur
like,
Smith
I mean,
problem.
You know, Arthur Smith is just a dumb play caller, quite honest. Like he's right out of the 1970s, and football has evolved since then. Yeah. But no, like, and this was the whole thing that we talked about with DK Metcalf heading into the season. Like, I liked him because
I loved him.
I knew that he was going to be the guy that scored touchdowns for this offense. And if I'm not mistaken, he does lead the team in touchdown catch.
Oh yeah, 5 receiving touchdowns in today's NFL is not a terrible number.
It's not terrible. Yeah, we knew he was going to get hyper targeted. The difference when you look at past wide receiver ones that Aaron Rodgers has had, DK has by far the lowest career catch percentage of any of them. And that was the biggest issue for me. Like, and I still had him ranked. I think it was, I had him, like, he fluctuated kind of between like 12 and 15 for me overall.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was, you know, I keep throwing more targets his way. So that jumps the, you know, catches and blah, 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 all this other stuff. We knew he was going to have a high yards per catch because that is the Arthur Smith offense. And that's always been DK's game. So he's
saying that's DK Metcalf,
right? So he was going to be well above the 15 yards per catch. You add in, you know, probably, I thought he would have a pretty easy route to like 10 touchdown catches. He's only halfway there, and we're in week 13.
Yep.
That to me is the biggest problem here. But
absolutely.
Yeah, like he's just, if you can't rely on Aaron Rodgers, and at this point at 41 years old, you really can't rely on him, you then can't rely on DK Metcalf.
I think I read that Aaron Rodgers turns 42 next week. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Josh, let's get back to the chat. They've been waiting for a little while. Millie, depressed about the Falcons, their cheeks. He said, but at least his fantasy team won by 60.
So I'm going to add a little insult to injury here, Millie. I actually took the Jets money line to win this game.
Wow.
And I won.
Betting against taking the money line is ballsy. Betting against Kirk Cousins makes sense, plain and simple. So what's hilarious is I have a league. It's a 32-team league. And I've held Kirk Cousins because he was my starter last year. I've moved on to Aaron Rodgers. I actually started Cousins over Rodgers this week, and it was still the right decision, even though everybody sucked, because those are my quarterback options that I desperately need to fix next season. Index of sus. This is interesting, Josh. So we were talking about dropping Jefferson. We talked about dropping Addison on last week's show. Mm-hmm. He says he should have dropped Addison for Adonai Mitchell. Josh, this Jet situation is looking like the Panthers running back situation because John Mechie looked great for 2 weeks, but guess what? Adonai Mitchell finally popped this week.
Yeah, and they're looking Mitchell's way. Like that first game where he was active, like he kind of played that Garrett Wilson role, saw a ton of targets, just they weren't connecting. And, maybe some of that was on field. Mitchell can't hold on to the football anyway, so I'm sure he played a role in that. But this week it finally started to connect. And, and I mentioned this, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, like when you look at this Detroit offense and ultimately what they want it to become, Mechie for the current iteration looks like that Amon-Ra St. Brown role, whereas Mitchell looks like the Jameson Williams role. Yeah. Well, how many times watching this offense have we seen the big pops from Jameson Williams and then Amon-Ra St. Brown comes in with like a 3 for 36 kind of week? We've seen it. That's exactly what this game was.
And this is already a worse version of that.
Yeah, exactly. So what I will say is that looking at how well, Mechie has done, 2 of the last 3 weeks, looking at how well Adonai Mitchell played this week, you got to get a little excited for when Garrett Wilson comes back, right? Like it provides me a little faith.
Yeah, I mean, Mechie had 8 targets this week. He just couldn't do it.
And he caught 4. It only went for 19 yards. That's really the problem. But again, when you have a quarterback that can actually throw and make semi-smart decisions.
To Josh's point, though, whoever the quarterback is next year, if they go into this with Wilson, Mechie, and Adonai Mitchell, because you get to now have Adonai as the second outside guy with Mechie as the slot. This is an interesting offense if they're able to run that out next year.
I agree.
Jay Smarty, new name. Sorry to keep you waiting. Busy show on Monday morning sometimes. Needs to drop one. He's only focusing on week 16 and 17. Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, and Daniel Jones. And Josh, while I bring up my,
I don't even need to see who they're playing right now. I'm not starting Daniel Jones.
Wow, I love that because I was like, I threw together a little thing that showed playoff schedules for myself.
Don't even care who he is playing. Daniel Jones is he looks like New York Giants Daniel Jones right now.
Yeah. San Francisco and Jacksonville, probably not where you want to play him anyway. Purdy has Indy and Chicago. Indy's not great. Chicago is great. And who was the other quarterback, Josh?
Trevor Lawrence.
T-Law has Denver and Indy. I'm probably going Purdy in this situation, Josh. T-Law has 2 bad matchups, and the first is Denver. If you don't get past Denver, your ass ain't moving on anyway. So,
yeah.
So go Brock Purdy. He at least has a decent week 16 and hope for the best. Billy Mills. He said new roster. Jordan Love, great week. James Cook, good week. Derrick Henry, good week. Jamar Chase, good week.
That's
Chase Brown. I'm sorry, Chase Brown. Still a decent week, right? CeeDee Lamb, Rashee Rice, Rice cooked. Abuka is a problem. Christian Watson, Troy Franklin looking like a problem now. Has Tucker Kraft, but has Kyle Pitts. Has Juwan Johnson. Pitts and Johnson had solid weeks, way better out of Pitts than what I expected, Josh. Has Algier, even though he does not have Bijan. Has Devin Singletary, even without Tracy. So no cuffs, just a lot of bench depth on that team.
You got solid starters, man. So
yeah, you may not need the cuffs as long as nobody gets hurt.
You really don't. And quite honestly, I'd be starting Watson over Abuka right now. You got, I mean, Algier and Singletary are still good depth, even if they're not handcuffs, because they do operate independent of the starters. So I'm not that worried about that. No, I like the team.
Yeah.
That's a team that can win the championship.
Yep. Craig, I don't 100% understand your question. If it's, should you hold on to Rico Dowdle The answer is yes. Troy Franklin versus Devonta Smith. Josh, I think, and you're going to know this better than me, Devonta Smith's issues this week, I think, was limited practices. A lot of things just didn't go in his favor. After what we saw from Troy Franklin against a very beatable Washington team, I'm ready to pivot back to Devonta Smith moving forward.
Yeah, no, Smitty's going to be fine. He's a much better upside play than Troy Franklin anyway.
But do not drop Rico Dowdle because of 1 week. I don't know that they're just going to give the game back to Chuba Hubbard. 3 weeks ago, Millie flipped Jalen Warren and Pickens for James Cook. Great fucking trade. And then gets and he flipped K9 Sutton and Tyrone Tracy for Rice. When you're building a starting lineup, Josh, for the playoffs, these are the kind of interesting deals to make because all you care about is your starters. You stop caring about the depth so much.
Yep.
Greg Lennox just quickly asks what happened with Syracuse football. Just quickly from what I've been reading, Syracuse is having a lot of trouble getting NIL money. They lost a lot of really good players out of the program. I think they're still young. I think they can still grow. I think they overachieved a bit to start the season, and now they're running into better teams and just getting their asses whipped. So. Christian Watson over Roma Dunze rest of season, Josh?
Yes.
Yeah. Roma Dunze was the Trojan horse, the fool's gold. Caleb Williams is still going to keep spreading the ball around, Josh. I'm not going to tell you you're not going to immediately regret benching Roma Dunze the first week you do it, but the next week you're going to be fine with it.
Pretty much.
Jay Smarty, is Drake London coming back? I don't mean this facetiously. Neither one of us are doctors. I believe he will be back, Josh, because Atlanta still has something to play for. So,
yeah, I mean, I didn't think Terry McLaurin was going to come back, and he did. So,
yeah,
this is why I don't like making predictions like this. But because I know that when I say, yeah, he'll come back, then they shut him down for the season. No, I think he will. Everything that I've been reading that's come across my feeds, he could be back as early as this week.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's whether it's Kirk Cousins playing for a job for next year, whether it's, them just fighting for a playoff spot with the slimmest of chances anyway, Raheem Morris playing for his job, coaching for his job, essentially. I do think Drake London comes back. Yeah.
Yep. Zach says after all the shit he talked, he thinks Harvey's overtime touchdown might have saved his team this week. More on Harvey a little bit later. Jay Smarty says, how frustrated should he be for not giving up Jalen Warren and getting back Kenny Gainwell and Terry McLaurin a month ago?
Well, if you'd have done that deal a month ago, you probably wouldn't be in the position that you're in right now.
It's exactly
because
what
Terry
I was
McLaurin
say.
has not played, plain and simple.
Yep.
So don't look too far into it.
Yeah, I am not beating you up over this trade. And again,
Jalen Warren's still the better player between him and Kenny Gainwell. Let's be honest.
That part. Exactly what I was going to say. Fighting solves everything. As expected, he won this week. Now he has to drop one of those quarterbacks. He has Burrow and Brissett. Look, I love Jacoby Brissett. You got to hold on to Joe Burrow with those targets.
I do agree.
Yeah, it's congratulations on.
There's got to be a better bench or a lesser bench player that you can bench, so you're not.
I'm saying fighting solves everything. Drop your worst wide receiver.
Yeah, it's not worth putting a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett right now on the waiver wire for your opponent to pick up.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly. Thank you. We appreciate telling us that our info is cool. He's been starting Drake May over Baker Mayfield for weeks now, and we've been saying that. That's a good point. Okay, I get what you're saying there now, Craig. Fighting solves everything. Should Herbert be sent packing? If you got Joe,
I wonder if this is if this is between the Burrow, Brissett, and Herbert, then yes, I'm fine dropping Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert, 100%. I have a team right now that has Brissett and Herbert. If I needed to make a drop, I'm dropping Justin Herbert with zero hesitation. Would we drop Bashal Tootin or Charbonnet or Higgins for Chuba Hubbard? My thing is, I think Tootin and Hubbard have the same role, Josh. It's just Hubbard broke the long one this week. I'm not against dropping Higgins just because I would prefer a fringe running back to a fringe wide receiver.
Yeah, I really want to look more into snaps and stuff with Tootin. Like, I understand Travis Etienne had a really down game. How much of that really was just like, dude, we don't need you right now. Like, let's get the rookie some run. Tennessee scored 3 points against this team. They were winning by 2 scores at halftime. They did not need to risk Travis Etienne getting hurt when they've got crucial division matchups coming up over the next month.
Yeah. Zach says this year taught him to target star running backs over wide receivers. All I'm going to warn you, Zach, is
I thought that was last year, but okay.
I've been playing fantasy football for 20 years. In 2 years, you're going to be saying the exact opposite. It's just it swings.
It's role reversal. It is. It's
exactly
ebbs and flows, man.
Yep. So don't overdo it. I think hero running back is still a very solid draft strategy. Get your guy and then start filling up the wide receivers. Craig Lennox wants to know what to do with Emeka Egbuka, Josh. To me, it's feeling very Justin Jefferson-y.
I wouldn't go that far. It's honestly, it could get worse if Mike Evans comes back, truthfully, or it could get better. Maybe the attention that Mike Evans draws opens up even more one-on-ones against lesser competition for Egbuka. But the long and short of it is, and we brought this up last week, Emeka Egbuka is about as pedestrian as it gets right now. Like, he's being carried by the same reasons why we're holding on to Jake Ferguson at tight end. We're holding on to Emeka Egbuka. Had a great first half of the season and has been.
I joke that he's Justin Jefferson-y. Emeka Egbuka and Roma Dunze feel like the exact.
They're the exact same player.
Yeah,
they're the exact same player right now. So, if you're willing to bench a Dunze, I think you should be willing to bench Emeka Egbuka. Quite frankly.
Quincy Davis says he has Kamani Vidal and he's begging the Chargers not to bring Amari and Hampton back. I think Hampton's back this week, unfortunately. I don't think you're going to have much say in the matter there. So
they'll still work in tandem together. Obviously, that limits Vidal's upside, but
it limits both players' upside. And then the question will be, does Hampton get any sort of passing role, which will open his upside and probably hurt Oronde Gadsden. Frosty needs that Monday Miracle, needs 20 points from Drake May, Josh. I think this is well within his wheelhouse tonight against a bad defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's usually good for 2
to
touchdowns. I think I was doing some research. He's been over 225 passing for, I think it's like 6 of his last 7 games or something along those lines.
Interesting.
So you add in some of the rushing yards, and I think he should be okay for that. Now, again, I don't know if this is 4 points per passing touchdown or 6, but I think it's very doable, especially against a not great Giants defense.
Yeah. Texas Patriot says had Gainwell in for Vidal. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I started Aaron Jones over Kamani Vidal in one league, so
I don't know if this played into it for Texas Patriot, but I think there was a lot of misinformation about Amari and Hampton returning this week, to where there were a lot of folks who were off of Vidal heading into Sunday, Josh. I was on. I went in and added him to just about all of my starting lineups. Like, I saw the writing on the wall that it wasn't going to be Hampton, and I wonder if Texas Patriot just kind of.
Well, I mean, they announced, I think it was
Saturday at like 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday at 5 o'clock.
Along those lines that Hampton, wouldn't be activated. So,
yeah. Thoughts on Nico Collins rest of the season? Is he back in the top 10? Wide receivers all over the place, Josh. I think I called him top 12 last week. I wasn't willing to go 10. I think you called him top 15. I think he's probably right around that same guy. Certainly looked comfortable with CJ Stroud back on the field, though.
Yeah, and a lot of questions that we got on Saturday revolved around Jaden Higgins. And, for me, it was, look, Higgins has done really well with Davis Mills. Let's see how much of a contributor in that offense he is once CJ Stroud comes back. They didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
And honestly, a good Jaden Higgins only makes Nico Collins' job easier.
100%.
So I think that the top 10 ceiling is certainly there. I still would rather have him, in that top 15 range. But no, the upside is 1,000% there.
Yep. Let's knock a couple more out, get to a segment. Kanan says in one league, he's up 47 points, but the opponent has Hendo, Wandale, and Hunter Henry. Do we think he can hold on? Hendo's going to be the big one here. I think.
I was going to say Wandale too, honestly.
Yeah. I just don't see Wandale having a huge week this week against the Patriots. I'd love to be wrong. I love the kid. I just don't think he has a huge week like we saw it last week.
I mean, he could very easily go 7 for 96 or something along those lines. Like, I mean, that's 16 right there. If he happens to score, which again has been few and far between this season, only has 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Henderson's pretty easy for 20.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry is going to be the wild card here because we've seen some really bad games. But And then we've seen some pop games like he did last week, right? Hunter Henry is the ultimate like boom bust tight end right now.
Yeah. And Jonathan, we answered this one earlier in the show. We both think you should drop Andrews out of that bunch. Just not enough consistency.
Yeah. Before you get to the next section, I do want to address this from Texas Patriot. So I'm guessing Daniel Jones had 20 points with 6 points per passing touchdown.
Yeah.
He was still QB 16 on the week.
Yeah. Don't always focus on the points there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess, do you have a better option?
Yeah. And that's to me what it really boils down to. I mean, he hasn't in 4 points per passing touchdown leagues. He's been under 20 for a month straight.
Yep. And he's not running.
Yeah. And that's the other side of it too. He has one game in the last 6 weeks where he's been over 16 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Like when you're on a broken leg, you're not going to run. So that in and of itself really limits the upside for Daniel Jones. He has to rely on his arm. He has to rely on touchdown passes. And when you have Jonathan Taylor behind you, he's going to eat up a lot of touchdowns because that's what Jonathan Taylor does.
Yeah. All right. I don't even know where we are, Josh. We just did the hangover, right? Okay. Everything's going on. I'll quickly remind you folks, if you like what you're hearing, hit that like button. If you want to hear it again next week, hit that subscribe button. We go live every single Monday to do this fantasy football therapy here on Hangxiety. If you happen to be listening on Apple or Spotify, hit that follow button. We do have Super Chat if you don't want to wait in line. We also have a completely free Discord link in the description of this video. We talked about all the bad. There was a lot of bad, but there was some good this week too. We call it the shot of espresso. Quality performance. Get those juices flowing. Honorable mentions. Jordan Love back on Thursday. Marcus Mariota last night. Trevor Lawrence, Tyrod Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Kamani Vidal, Chuba Hubbard, Kyle Monangai, Bucky Irving, A.J. Brown, Dontavian Wicks, Adonai Mitchell, Devon Vele, Jacoby Myers, Alec Pierce, Jalen Coker, Cortland Sutton, Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, and Evan Ingram all had good weeks. But Josh, you mentioned it earlier in the show. We got to give a little love to Scary Terry as he returns back.
Yeah, he's back and automatically gets 14 targets. You want to talk about a wide receiver one, you give him 14 targets, good things are going to happen. 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown was the wide receiver 8 on the week. You know, clearly Washington's still fighting. And you know what? Hats off to them because they're not winning the East. I can tell you that much. But if they're still fighting, Terry McLaurin's going to make some noise in the playoffs. But again, here's the problem. If you held on to him, you're probably not in the playoff hunt because you spent a top, 6th round pick on him. Yep. He's been hurt all season. You've basically had a hole in your wide receiver 2 spot all season, and you've had to scrape by to get there. That to me has been the biggest issue with Terry McLaurin. And it's why, Ryan, you and I, when we talk on Waiver Wire Show, when we talk on Mondays, you can probably move off of Terry McLaurin.
It's all about
he's not helping you win. He has not helped you win for 12 weeks. Really 13, because you probably didn't start him this week either.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I'm probably less likely to move on from him now.
Well, yeah.
The question is, you probably should have been holding him this whole time, and that's something we said a while ago.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it too, is that because he was hurt, and really it's the same thing with Bucky Irving. Like, we've been going through and we've been celebrating, oh, Bucky's back, and damn it, Bucky looked good.
Yep.
But it's to me, running backs are way more valuable than wide receivers because there are so few good ones, in all honesty. Yep. And again, like most people that probably held on to Bucky, same situation. You're probably not in the hunt and and if you are, like, you wanted to start Bucky because it's like, hey, I got to start him. But then all the talks about the snap counts, and that's why we were like, hey, you know what? Believe in Sean Tucker one more week. That came back to bite us in the ass. But with Terry McLaurin, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, he's going to be good the rest of the season. I don't care who's starting at quarterback, whether it's Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota. He's a wide receiver 1. He's going to see targets, and he is that good. As long as he's healthy, you're starting him. The question then becomes, your trade deadline's probably moved past, so you can't trade him or try to acquire him if you're a contending team. I don't know how much impact he's going to have in the playoff hunt, I guess, is really my biggest thing. And which basically I'm trying to get at is I stand by, we were okay in saying you could drop Terry McLaurin. So
yeah,
that's what I want to say. But hats off to McLaurin. And I do think that the success continues.
Yeah. And I'm going to quickly just throw DeHunta up on the screen. Would we drop DJ Moore for McLaurin, Josh? The issue we run into here is who and when do we trust anyone on this Bears offense that isn't a running back?
Yeah, I go get Terry McLaurin if he's out there. Shit.
Especially with the insane aspect that Jaden Daniels might come back and then you get improved quarterback play on top of everything else. Josh, I want to give a little credit to RJ Harvey. It wasn't a great game, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was a great game. 13 carries for 35 yards is not a great game. But he finds the end zone twice. He finds the end zone in the overtime, which is huge importance. 4 targets in the game, which is still behind Tyler Beatty. But overall, 16 touches in this game, 17 opportunities, when all the other running backs combined, Josh, only had 7, 9, 12 touches. So he's ahead in touches of everybody combined, but it's still kind of a 50-50 split. But this is a Denver offense is going to find ways to get RJ Harvey into the end zone, and seeing him come in as his second week as a starter, first week against a beatable defense, and find the end zone twice, I think that's worth something for a rookie as you're entering the playoff push.
Yeah, he's up to 8 touchdowns this season. Like when you look at the overall numbers, he's really not producing. He has not been efficient at all. Certainly wasn't efficient against a Washington defense that you can run on. But when you're scoring touchdowns, I mean, we talked about it with Josh Jacobs. We talked about it with Kieran Williams in the past. Like, if you're scoring touchdowns, that's what matters because that's 6 automatic points right there.
Yep. All right, Josh, let's get back to the chat. We got some folks waiting. Frosty. I realized I didn't quick the question. I was just about to read it. What do we make of Brian Thomas Jr., Roma Dunze, and Michael Pittman moving forward? Taking these in turn, Josh, of this group, I'm most interested in Brian Thomas Jr. Jacoby Myers still has a role. Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. came back and had an interesting role this week in his first game back, and he looked much healthier than he has before he went out with this injury.
Okay. That's interesting to me because I would rank them Pittman. I still would put a Dunze over BTJ.
See, I mean, I don't know. The issue with Pittman, and you know what? I will go back on my word a little bit here. I would still put Pittman ahead. Even a hurt Daniel Jones is going to get Michael Pittman involved.
Yeah, has to throw the football.
Yeah, because they have to throw the football. He's not running. Yeah. So I would put Pittman ahead. I would put a Dunze last. That's for sure.
And that's fair. And I think that's, again, I think both of them can be really hit or miss. I feel like we've seen better pops from a Dunze than BTJ. It just doesn't feel like he's very in sync in this offense, and he certainly is not on the same page as Trevor Lawrence.
And then I'm just going to slide right into Quincy here because he says, is Jacoby Myers the wide receiver 1?
Certainly playing that way.
The activity of Jacoby Myers in that flex spot, Josh, our flex slot role, too much fantasy football for me. The activity of Jacoby Myers in that Jesus Christ, in the slot role makes him the most Godwin viable role for fantasy football. Absolutely.
It's the Chris Godwin role. This is what we wanted from Travis Hunter.
Exactly.
Yep.
Frosty says, why won't the Steelers get Jaylen Warren more involved?
Because Arthur Smith is a dumbass.
And I think they just are more comfortable splitting time. But I was looking at the stats again from this week. Jaylen Warren is still the back to own. Kenneth Gainwell was asked this week. I didn't even realize how bad he was because that whole game was so boring. I'm not upset with the usage of Jaylen Warren. He feels like an RB2 every week, and that's what I expect out of him.
Yeah, and that's what he is. He's already set a career high in carries, is 151. And that was my biggest thing, my biggest worry with Jaylen Warren heading into the season was all the offseason talk was, we like Jaylen Warren. He's our number 1 guy, blah, blah, blah. He's never had 150 carries in a season. I didn't see it. And that was a lot of the reason why I was on the Caleb Johnson train, because he's just a bigger back. He's somebody that can handle that type of workload. Yeah. But we're still not even approaching the highest workload season of Jaylen Warren's career. You go back to 2023, he had 149 carries and 61 receptions. He has 151 carries this year, but only 27 receptions, which is very uncharacteristic from the type of role.
They seem to have given that role to Kenneth Gainwell. So.
Correct. So, it's unfortunate simply because we know that Jaylen Warren is so viable in the passing game. But, he's averaging 9 yards per catch.
Yeah.
So, he's still pretty damn efficient even when catching the football. And he does have 5 touchdowns. We'd love to be able to see that, a lot closer to 10, but that's not always the reality. So, I mean, he's perfectly fine. He's averaging 13.1 fantasy points per game right now. Again, sure, we always want our running backs to touch the football more. I get that. And he is the better of those two running backs with the football in his hands. But you just have to understand the reality. Arthur Smith's not going to do that because he didn't even do it with Bijan Robinson. Let's be honest here. If he's not going to do it with Bijan Robinson, a running back that actually can carry the workload, he's not going to do it with Jalen Warren.
Yep. Frosty says, is Linsanity over with Rico Dowdle? I was thinking about this a lot yesterday. Dowdle is a good back, Josh, but he's a Jag, and we got really excited over 2 games. I don't think he's going to go away. They're not just going to go back to Chuba, but the 200-yard days are fucking over.
He's an RB2. That's what he is. He doesn't have that low-end RB1 upside anymore. He's an RB2, plain and simple.
No. The Hunter says he picked up Mike Evans, anticipating him back for the playoffs. Are there any other players he should keep an eye out for? Off the top of my head, Josh, the guys that
apparently Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, but see, I feel like a lot of people held on to Terry McLaurin. If you start to hear news Mike Evans isn't back, I will say Jalen McMillan got cleared for practice this week, a player I really like. I actually picked him up in one of my deeper leagues to hold him in my IR spot. Top of my head, though, Josh, there aren't a ton of guys that I can think of that are going to be coming back for this playoff run that you weren't already putting expectations into. I do think Terry McLaurin is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, and Frosty drops in the chat, stashing Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson could be someone, I mean, especially when you look at what Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie have done in different weeks for the Jets offense with Tyrod Taylor, a quarterback. I think really what you need to target are kind of sometimes players on bad offenses. Yeah. They're very hit or miss. Look at Shamir DK. He's had a pretty good run recently. Negative points this week.
Fell apart this week.
And the fumble blew a couple of my parlays because he couldn't fucking hit 40 yards. So, I don't. It's gonna be. I don't know that there's a league winner, so to speak. Yeah. That's kind of chilling out there right now. Now, again, not saying that person couldn't pop and, reveal themselves in the next week or two.
Jaden Reed could be interesting. We've seen good touchdown
upside. We've definitely seen really good Jaden Reed. But again, the consistency of that offense and do you really want to disrupt it when Christian Watson is doing what Christian Watson's doing? You know what I mean? The moment that you say, all right, well, now I got to get Jaden Reed involved and Christian Watson only gets 2 targets and now you've dovetailed your entire offense as a result, that's just stupid play calling, in my opinion.
Keenan said, breaking news, Adam Thielen's been released by the trash Vikings. Yes. Adam Thielen was the problem there, Minnesota. That's who you needed to move on from. Yeah. Hopefully you can use that roster spot on a quarterback. Do we expect Jacobs, JT, JSN to bounce back next week with 20 points each? It's hard to make that prediction, but I expect every single one of them to bounce back. Jacob specifically was dealing with an injury, so I'm not overly concerned. I'm not concerned about a single one of these players. I will say the high expectations that Jonathan Taylor afforded his managers heading into his bye, he is looking a lot more mortal coming out of that bye.
Yeah, JSN gets the Falcons. He should be fine. JT gets the Jaguars. And Josh Jacobs gets the Bears. I don't know if I want to go as high as 20 points, but I think all should be, wide receiver ones, RB ones, in there for their respective weeks. So,
yep. Josh, how do we rank JMO with the expectation that Amon-Ra is out this week?
I think he should 100% be a top 15 option with Amon-Ra.
I was going to say top 20, but top 15 is bold. Josh is good with bold predictions. Trust us. Fighting solves everything. Instead of dropping a QB, should he drop Franklin? Yes. This was the one where we were telling him not to drop a quarterback. That's absolutely what you should do.
Yep.
I read that as Jaden Higgins. I was going to say drop Jaden Higgins, but no, drop Troy Franklin. You don't need him. Frosty, what QB would we start in the playoffs? Dart, Nix, or Daniels? Josh, I still have that thing up for you. So Jackson Dart has Washington, Minnesota, Las Vegas. That's really good, folks.
It's Jackson Dart.
Daniels has Giants, Philly, Dallas, and that's assuming he's playing. Denver has Green Bay, Jacksonville, Kansas City. It's much
Jackson Dart.
Yeah, not even really close.
Yeah.
Jackson
He's
Dart.
the QB1 in fantasy points per game since week 8. It's Jackson Dart.
Zach asked how many leagues we're in, and Zach, I'm not going to talk
Way
about
too fucking many.
Marlia had asked me this to verify with somebody the other day. So leagues where I actually have to pay attention to waivers, those are the only leagues I count here. If it's a best ball league without waivers, I do not count it. I have 23 leagues I'm managing this year.
I have 20.
Yep. And that counts dynasty where it's just
I was going to say, yeah. So like, and again, I rarely pay attention to waivers in dynasty leagues in season because there's bare bones scraps and you're not usually finding any kind of league winners on there. But I will say that this is the first year where my number of dynasty leagues has overtaken my number of redraft leagues.
Oh, that actually happened to me a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, because like most of the redraft leagues that I'm in right now, they are like our writers league, right? They're listener leagues. They're like I have one home league, my auction league, and then I have another league with some of my old college buddies and some of his friends. But outside of that, they're charity leagues for redraft. So most of the teams that I build are dynasty because quite honestly, for me, at this point, it's just more fun. Like I love orphan. I love taking over an orphan, like stripping that shit for parts and building out the frame and setting up a monster squad. Like I was going through in our Club Dynasty AF league. Like I was going through and I was looking at the history because my team in that league is fucking stacked. And it has been stacked since year 1.
Yeah.
And I won it in 2022. I finished, I think, second in, or it was either second or third in 2023. It was second or third in 2024. But like when you look at the high points in a given week and like the history of that league, I have the top 4. And I'm about to add a 5th one this week. Like I have absolutely dominated in that league.
That's what I'm doing in my home league this season. So
yeah, so like I love building, and I'm just waiting for the day where I'm gonna be like, man, I have to strip this shit for parts. Because I know it's coming.
Oh, I love this from Charlene because that is exactly where I am, Charlene. I kind of hate Dynasty now too. Like it's just not as interesting to me as it used to be. But I always feel bad when someone's like, I have this orphan. Will you take it over? I'm like, yeah, why the fuck not? And like, I'm not picking up anymore.
I'm not going to lie. I've definitely asked Charlene to pick up a couple orphans.
Don't do it, Charlene.
And she can't say no.
We fight together, Charlene. We're out of this. Millie, if you could drop your lineup one more time, I cannot find it. Josh might be able to find it. We'll come back to that question for you. I'll leave you a check there if we could find that lineup for you. Zach says he's up 121 to 109, 12-point lead with the Pats defense going tonight against the Giants. I wouldn't call this safe, Josh. 12 is the high part of an expectation, and the Giants could fuck this up, but I won't be surprised if Zach wins this one by like 3 points.
Yeah, for me, it just really depends how your league scores defenses. That's the biggest
true.
thing,
If we're talking
every
flat
league is very
scoring.
different. Yeah, I found Millie's lineup, by the way.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead and pop it up there. All right, so he has to drop one person, I think he said. To me, it's Devin Singletary.
Well, why do you still have Kraft? He's not coming back.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you do not need Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, he tore his ACL, dude. He's not coming back.
Yeah. And then, Josh, I wanted to bring this one up. So if for some reason you still have Tucker Kraft, get rid of him even. Well, it's probably in an IR spot. So if you have to drop non-IR, drop Devin Singletary. You're not going to regret dropping him.
I'd be fine with that.
Josh, before we move on to the final segment and then get all the rest of the questions in, Fighting Solves Everything asks a great fantasy question that we get a lot this time of year. Is it bad sportsmanship to throw a game to keep an asshole out of the playoffs? He's locked into the playoffs, and this would give him a more favorable round 1. And Josh, I am of 2 minds when it comes to this question. Getting yourself a more favorable round 1 is the most important thing here. However, I've been playing this game for long enough that I know for a fact the fantasy gods are real and they frown upon this shit. Every time I have tried to get cute, it has backfired. And that favorable round 1 has the high score the next week. To me, whatever you did this week is what you do next week. Do not fuck around. Set your lineups. I know it's superstition. I'm telling you, the fantasy gods are real.
Yeah, you've heard the phrase "fuck around and find out."
Yeah.
There you go. Fuck around and find out. That being said, no, I don't think it's bad sportsmanship. I think it's strategy, plain and simple. If you're doing it to, quote, keep an asshole out of the playoffs, whatever, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole, and then you don't get treated like that, plain and simple, right? But, the whole playing for a favorable matchup, I'm with you 100%, Ryan. Just because you think on paper it's a good matchup, it comes back to bite you 10 times out of 10. Play to win. Don't get cute. Things will line up the way they're supposed to line up, plain and simple.
Josh, find me Millie's roster one more time.
Damn it.
I fucked up. He wants to keep one person from that roster. And I don't remember it enough to just give an answer. There we go.
Okay, so that's probably why he still has Kraft then. Okay.
Yeah. So, Josh, to me, this comes down to CeeDee Lamb or Rashee Rice. When you factor in, it would be hard for me to move on from Rashee Rice. If everybody costs the same, it's CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to keep the guy who is the definite first-round pick next year. But I think there's something to Rashee Rice and Patrick Mahomes as a couple, if you will.
Yeah, those would be the two that I would look at. I think you could also make a case for James Cook.
Obviously, I love running backs, but to me, if everybody has the same costs, I look at them as draft rounds. CeeDee Lamb is definitely the first round pick of this bunch, plain and simple. So
yeah, and that's fair. I mean, when you look at cost and all those types of things, I figure Cook is either a second or third round pick. Rice, you may have gotten at a value because of the suspension, but I mean, you want to talk about variance over the summer when it came to draft spot. Like we saw Rice going as low as round 6, 7. Then he popped back up to like rounds 2 and 3. Then he sort of settled into like that 4 or 5 range. So, if you're keeping somebody based on draft costs, then I think you would have to go Rice at that point. But if all things being equal, it's CeeDee Lamb, and it's not close in my opinion.
There you go. Josh, let's move on to the segment that gave us the inspiration for this show. Panic or chill the fuck out? Recent duds, were they blips on the schedule, or should we be concerned about these folks? Josh, you get to start us with Michael Pittman, under 30 yards in 3 straight games, under 4 fantasy points. In 2 of the last 3, we got the Daniel Jones leg injury. It's a tough schedule, rest of season, Jacksonville, Seattle, San Francisco, and then Jacksonville yet again. Josh, are you panicking or chilling the fuck out on Michael Pittman?
Well, considering where he was drafted, I'm chilling the fuck out because you basically drafted him as like a wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
But he's been putting up wide receiver 1 numbers for you. He's been basically a top 12 wide receiver for this season. If you're still expecting the wide receiver 1 production, it's panic time. Yeah. But I think you can realistically settle him in as a top 24 option week in and week out. He provides a pretty safe floor most weeks. Yes, the production really hasn't been there much over the last 3 weeks. Do I think you're going to see a lot of 20-point pop weeks? No, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities to where he's a consistent top 36 wide receiver, and then he gives you that top 24 upside week in and week out.
Yep.
Because again, these are some pretty tough matchups.
Yep. And I agree. I'm chilling. I may be not starting him if I have a 2 wide receiver league, but I'm not dropping him.
Correct.
A player I might be willing to drop, Josh, for the right person is Oronde Gadsden. No touchdown since week 8, 6 or fewer targets in every game since week 7, 6.1 fantasy points in over the last 3 games, averaging 6.1 fantasy points never higher than 6.1 fantasy points over the last 3 games. He is the tight end 36 since week 10, and that actually takes 1 step back. Tight end 37 in points per game. Josh, I'm not starting Oronde Gadsden. As someone who has always streamed the position, everything is going to script. Offensive line problems have led to Oronde Gadsden problems. I'm not going to hold on to what we saw earlier in this season, Josh. I'm moving on at tight end.
Man, Ryan, I wonder where we heard that from.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. You called it perfectly, and it's going exactly how you said it. So
yeah. And again, he drops a dud this week. Guess who scores a touchdown? Quentin Johnston. These guys work pretty well in tandem together. So I'm fine moving off of Gadsden. I mean, this is the thing with tight ends. Like, we fall in love with these pop weeks and then think that it's going to sustain itself. It was the same trap that we fell into early in the season with Juwan Johnson. Then he had the lull because he was dealing with an injury.
Yep.
Now he's been back up and fairly consistent. Crushed one of my parlays with a fucking hook. I took him at 39.5 over, and he finishes with 39, little motherfucker.
Yeah,
But
can't find the end zone either. It's killing me.
Right.
But.
Well, and again, I mean, that's just kind of what happens when you're on a bad offense. Like, call a spade a spade. Like, the Saints offense is not good. So you're gonna have these headaches. Chris Olave finds the end zone. That's awesome. Need more, a little bit more. He's still getting receptions, and that's the thing, is if you're in PPR leagues, Juwan Johnson is a good player. Arande Gadsden is not fitting that bill right now.
Yep. All right, Josh, let's get this last round of questions out, get the Monday Night Football, and get out of here. Can Troy Franklin be trusted moving forward? Maybe in your flex spot for Steven Pereira. I'm not in a rush to make sure Troy Franklin's in my lineups like I thought I was going to be.
Yeah, I'm not either. The inconsistencies of Bo Nix are really what's leading me to this.
Yeah, that's really fair. Frosty, what are the odds Jay Jettis requests a trade? I feel like receivers always request trades. I don't think Minnesota is going to be in a spot to move on from Justin Jefferson, and I don't think anyone's going to pay what they need to.
Yeah, no. Look, he's already signed his contract extension. It's $35 million a year. It's going to be interesting because clearly he's frustrated, and we know and understand wide receivers. This could be a very interesting offseason because we saw, I think it was 3 years ago, maybe, there were some active wide receiver trades in the offseason. Like Tyreek Hill got traded, AJ Brown got traded. And these are big name guys where you're just like,
but they all got traded before they got paid, right? Like,
well,
that was
correct. Yeah, they got traded before they got paid. And Justin Jefferson already having gotten paid, obviously that's going to complicate matters because it's going to offer a lot of dead cap for the Vikings. But for the Vikings, they find themselves in an interesting situation where they spent a first-round pick on Jordan Addison. This is year 3, so he's technically eligible for an extension, right?
Yep.
If you're of the mindset that, look, we need to give JJ McCarthy time, do you consider, if you're running the Vikings, do you consider if Justin Jefferson, does this, shows the frustrations, wants to get out, look, you're wasting my prime, blah, 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 this and that, and say, well, we've already got a second wide receiver one that can grow with our young quarterback, who is a few years younger. Do you honor this request and say, we're going to build our offense around Addison and McCarthy?
It's going to depend on what offers are out there.
Well, and again, I agree wholeheartedly. You have to assume that you're getting at least one first back for Justin Jefferson. I don't care if he's already making $35 million.
Exactly.
AJ Brown went straight up for a first and a third.
But my thing is, I'm not even doing it for just a first.
No, I understand that. Yeah. But I mean, look, Sauce Gardner just got paid, and the Colts gave up 2 first-round picks. So I think in reality, sure, a team is going to give up 2 first-round picks for Justin Jefferson.
That's true.
Then it just becomes, what team can fit that into their cap? If you're New England, are you making that offer? Because I am. Just saying.
It's a franchise-changing move.
And that's what I'm saying is, and I'll go back to what Carly Irsay Gordon said. Do you want to Band-Aid the problem, or do you want to fucking fix it?
Yeah.
So
and then that leads to Zach. Is this a coaching issue in Minnesota, or is it just bad quarterback play? I think it's bad quarterback play.
I think it's bad quarterback play. And again, it's just...
This is the same coaching staff that got Sam Darnold paid. So.
Precisely. So I don't think it's bad coaching. I just think that JJ McCarthy is just not ready, plain and simple. Yeah. And the bigger question is long-term. How fast can he become ready? If he ever becomes ready.
Yeah. If we knew Murray was back, would you drop Brissett for JD5? I'm going to keep saying I don't think JD5 plays, but if Murray's back, sure.
I'm not moving off of Brissett until I know they activate Kyler Murray.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think this is I'm everything's a blur at this point. We've been doing way too long of a show. I think this is the guy he's trying to keep out of the playoffs.
Okay.
Again, I'm just warning you. It finds a way to backfire. Is it sound strategy? Sure. I've seen it fail so many times.
Yep.
Millie says he's keeping Lamb and thanks us for being the best fantasy show out there. We appreciate you, Millie. Actually, let me save that for last. So Millie says, unless Josh convinces you to pick up AR5 after a 20-point game and give him no more than 11 points the next 4 weeks. So was that last week where we got all excited after?
No, I think that was, it might have been last season, actually.
Yeah, that's why I said last week. I meant to say last season where all of a sudden Anthony Richardson looked real. Zach asks, knows that we're not into college, but what do you think about Lane Kiffin? He's a dick, plain and simple. And the way he left that team is fucked up. Fuck Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, it's really confusing to me because the way that it was coming off was that he wanted to at least stay and coach through the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Which I get. And the team basically said, dude, if you're going to leave, just fucking leave. And so it really just kind of feels like a lot of he said, she said kind of thing. But also, too, while I'm not the biggest Lane Kiffin fan because obviously he's done this kind of bullshit before.
Exactly.
This is an NCAA problem.
Yeah.
This is you guys open the portal before the playoffs and the season itself is over. So you're creating this chaos as a organization.
Yep.
So
and
we
you're doing
can't sit here. Yeah, we can't sit here and blame the coaches, blame the players for making these decisions when their backs are against the wall. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm making, we'll just say hypothetically, if I'm making $7 million at a job and another offer comes in for $12 million, you bet your fucking ass I'm taking $5 million more a year.
Yeah.
Does it hurt all these teams, these players that I've coached and the players that I've recruited to come in? 100% it hurts. But that's the nature of the business and it sucks. But this is an NCAA problem because of their stupid ass calendar.
And Zach's saying it's an AD problem. I don't follow college enough to know all of this. I'm going to try to, we got to get this segment in. I'm not doing much more of the show, guys. We are so far over time. This is too much. I got too much shit to get done. So let's move in to Monday Night Football. It's Giants at Patriots. Patriots are 7-point favorites. Over under on this game, 46.5. Gator is going to drop into his chat later on his favorite underdog picks of the week. You can use promo code WOFF on Underdog if you've never used it before. They'll give you a one-time bonus deposit match up to $1,000 and a free pick. His pick this week is Travion Henderson, higher than 14.5 receiving yards. He says he's quietly become a reliable dual threat back. I'm not going to read all of his other notes. He will drop an entire 3-leg parlay in the Discord when this show is over. Josh, I picked the Giants this week because you guys both went New England and you have to pick one from each team when you're doing these. I went Tyrone Tracy lower than an 11.5 longest reception. 11.5 seems to be their standard, as you'll find out in a second. But Josh, I went and looked. Tracy's only done this 3 times this season. I'm not bought in that this is just a part of his game all of a sudden. And I know the Patriots are good against running backs. So weighing those two things in, I don't see Tyrone Tracy breaking a long one tonight.
No, and again, you're talking about reception too, not longest run, right?
And rush was actually one of the options too at 11.5 as well.
Yeah, which I could see that probably more so than a longest reception, but I think anytime you have quarterbacks that are willing to tuck it and scramble, it lowers the potential for longer catches like this from running back. So yeah, I don't hate this. I just always get burned by unders, man. I do. I hate it.
And that's why you went with an over.
Exactly. Demario Douglas higher than 11.5 longest reception. Demario Douglas hasn't played like a huge role in this offense, but he always has at least one catch every single week.
Yes, he
and
does.
For 7 straight games, he's had at least one catch for over 12 yards. And 6 of these 7, he's been over 26 yards.
Interesting.
This is a smash, in my opinion. Like, I don't understand why it's this low.
That's fair.
Straight up. So, yeah, I almost picked like a whole shit ton because I'm like, damn, I got to get this record up because I'm doing way better on our Wednesday show.
As am I. I have 1 right this season, folks. 1 this whole season. Josh, let's get these 4 questions. I got to get the hell out of here. Actually, I'm still saving Keenan's for last because if it's the show sheet. Would you drop a Rondé Gadsden for Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, or Evan Ingram? I would not for Pitts or Ingram. I would for Ertz.
I would for Ertz, yes.
Yep. ATL Outdoor says he is dropping all of his Chargers. He mentioned he has already clinched a playoff spot. Josh, are you cool with dropping Keenan, Gadsden, and Herbert, knowing that he has Jacoby Brissett, Terry McLaurin, Jacoby Myers, Michael Wilson, and Jaden Reed on IR?
I'm fine with it. None of those guys are helping you right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop Herbert just to drop him, even though you're not starting him this week. I would not drop him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like I'm not dropping somebody for the sake of dropping them. Like, is there a legitimate reason?
They're not locker room cancers.
Yeah, no, I mean and we said this before. Like we had a lot of questions this week about would you start Justin Herbert or Jacoby Brissett? I was very much on the Jacoby Brissett train, and he outscored Justin Herbert this week. Yes, I understand Herbert got hurt, but he came back and finished the game. Jacoby Brissett is that fucking dude right now.
No lies detected. Let's see here. Alpocalypse. I knew we were going to start getting these questions, Josh. We actually talked about this earlier in the show. Is it bad strategy? No. It is great strategy to get a better seed for the playoffs to create a more favorable matchup. The fantasy gods will speak and they will come after you. That is all I'm saying. Set your roster in week 14 the same way you set it in weeks 1 through 13. The fantasy gods will make this right.
I cannot tell you how many times I've had a number 1 seed and the 5th seed that I end up playing drops a fucking 170 point game on me.
Yep.
I don't care what you think is a good matchup. Any given Sunday, plain and simple. No, yes, I agree, Ryan. It's a good strategy. It backfires damn near every single time.
Been doing this for 20 years. Don't do it. Hi, Faith. How are you? We are trying to get out of here. Glad to see your face. Last question of the show, Keenan. Panic or chill on Kyren Williams, Josh? I think Kyren is an RB2 moving forward. I'm not going to panic to the point where I'm not starting him. My expectations are certainly lowered.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's always been a low-end RB1, RB2 type anyway, because he's not very involved in the passing game and he's touchdown reliant. Well, this year, they've decided to get Blake Corum a lot more involved. That's obviously taking some of the workload. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't checked the stats recently, but just watching the tape, Kyren Williams does look a little bit more efficient. Like he's not the 3.6 yards per carry guy that
he's not running into the line of scrimmage like he had to for many years. The
Correct.
main thing for me is the fact that they're not
giving him the red zone touches as much. And that's how he's made his living. We talked about it heading into the season, 31 total touchdowns over the last 2 seasons.
And he has 10 this season.
And he still has 10 while Devontae Adams has 14 or 15 now?
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm taking away from this is the Rams are still one of the best, if not the best team in the red zone.
Kyren Williams no longer has league winning upside, plain and simple. He's going to get you to the championship. He's just not going to win it for you.
There you go.
That's it, folks. We are back again tomorrow for the waiver show at 11 a.m. I got no outro. I'm fucking tired. We'll talk to you guys next week.